Hi everyone, Devlog series episode 2. In this video I'm gonna go over how I optimize my resource farming system basically. It's not gonna be a tutorial, it's just gonna be me showing you how I do my stuff and then maybe it gets you some inspiration, who knows. So basically how I do it is I separate everything into two parts. The first part is the large resources, meaning that mineable trees, cuttable rocks, so for example the coal, iron, copper, gold, some mineable ores. You got the idea. So anything that requires you as a weapon to kind of attack it, and that's how you farm it. Now, if that's the case, it's easy because I can just do a sphere trace like this, and then I'm gonna, with a left click, shoot out from my character, and whenever the first thing that it interacts with, that's going to be a collision, an interaction with the object channel or collision channel. Now it's easy because I can stand there in this tree, I quick left click, and then I will swap it over to an actor, and now I can mine this thing, but the underlying static mesh has just been transformed over there, as you can see, which can be under the map, out of somewhere where the user doesn't see it. So you just take the underlying static mesh, move it somewhere, spawn an actor instead, and whenever you have your respawn time or whenever you're done with it, you destroy this actor and then you swap that back into a static mesh and you place it back. Now why do I move it instead of removing the static mesh and adding? Is because in Unreal Engine updating transform, so update transform node, is much cheaper than add/remove instance node. Because if you add or remove an instance from an open world environment, that means that in your instances right here, let's say this instance which is a tree, if you add or remove it, all the indexes are shifting one index away, which is more resource heavy than you would just do like this, transform, and you update this transform there, and then the indexing never changes anywhere. So adding or removing instances is always going to be more expensive than just updating transform. And the other one is the small resources. So you see all these small resources like sticks, stones scattered throughout the forest everywhere, like, I don't know, mushroom, heather, like flowers, you get the idea. Anything that doesn't require you specifically a collision to interact with. And that's my second, I call this pick up actors, or rather say pick up resources. And now how I interact with these things is, let me actually go and do some debugging so you see it for duration like this. So what I do is that I shoot out from my character every 0.1 second, and I'm also going to open my crosshair. Every 0.1 second I'm going to shoot out a line trace in a 6.5 meter radius from my character, which always going to be tracking what I'm looking at. Now obviously, it, like you see, it's something like that. It's not long, so you need to be kind of close to the object. So if I look like this, nothing happens. But if I walk towards, if I get into the distance, then it's gonna say interact stone, and it's gonna tell me that interact and you get a stone like this. And I can go there and I can interact stone and I get this. Or if I go there, it's a stick, I interact and I go like this. And you would think, okay, why are you just not doing a sphere collision around your character and you're running through the forest and you're swapping all the instance messages to actor with proximity? That's not good, because by the time in a lush and dense forest, if I go from here until the other end over there, you're gonna swap 70 instances to actors in real time, either by adding and removing the instance or transforming it or whatever that might be. Even if you micro optimize it, you still, in a lush forest environment, start sprinting through the forest, you're gonna have 70, 80, 90 actors all the time going up and down and swapping each other back and forth. Doesn't make sense. And then you have, let's say, 10 players, because you have a multiplayer survival game. Then what? You're gonna have 500 actors swapping back and forth like crazy. That's not gonna be a viable option. This just doesn't work. So what you can do instead, look at my actor count. We have 20 actors right here, okay? I can walk through my forest like this, nothing happens. We are still 20 actors, nothing switched. I can even stop, look at the item, we're still 20 actors. If I don't pick it up and go towards, I can still look at it 20 actor, I can still look at it 20 actor. The only actor is spawning whenever I pick it up, but it's only because I do a delay node. So if I wait 5 seconds, resource is back. So, and we are back in 20 actors. But it's because I'm spawning delay actors. That's the only kind of actor that I'm dealing with this one. And how I do this is that you have components here. You have these FoliageInstanceStaticMeshComponents for PFS, Procedure Foliage Spawners. or if you do PCG in your environment, you're gonna have instance static mesh components. Now what you do is you simply go into blueprint class and you go all classes and you go foliage instance static mesh component, or in your case is instance static mesh component. In my case, I go down even further and I go hierarchical instance static mesh component. That's still good for PCG, but in a hierarchical stance, so it's still even more optimized. Or if you go a step further, which is foliage instance static mesh component, that's what I do, is for PFS exactly for foliage, and I create it like this, and then I name it whatever I want to name it. And this is going to be the child of the foliage instance static mesh component, and I write all my logic here. So everything, you can use the begin event play and start writing, and then you can use functions, you can do, I don't know, blueprint interfaces, you get the idea. And this is cool because you can build kind of complex stuff here. So in my case, this is what I have here. And how I optimize and do all this stuff is basically when you walk through the forest and you look at a static mesh, which is, by the way, just here in the component. Let's say you're looking at this component, which has this many instances, and each of them are using this static mesh. So you know that you're actually looking at this static mesh. So what I do is at the component level, swap foliage instance static mesh component, or whatever you created yourself, which could be simply, what is it? This one that you created, the blueprint class that I showed. So whatever you created there, you go into the backend event play, and whatever your logic you put here is gonna be initialized when the world loads up. Not the character, but the world, because each component, when they initialize, it's gonna basically do an event begin play. And now why it's great is because in a multiplayer environment, whenever the server loads up, meaning the world is created, each of the components will be initialized, and then my script will say, okay, this component has this static mesh, and then here inside the begin play, don't worry about this, other video I explain what is that. What I do is I look at my data table. I have a huge data table for all my items, okay? So DT items, which 600 and, I don't know, 360 items. Each of them have this mesh, and what I do is here, I'm looking at all the items from my inventory, and then I say, okay, this component has been initialized, it has this static mesh, so look at the DT items, find the static mesh, get the appropriate inventory item corresponding to it, and then declare as variable the inventory item, and also this item name, which is a text, also declare that. So if I go here, this is obviously dependent on your own inventory script. You might have a different inventory. In my case, because I do have this hyper inventory, I have like multiple structs here, so I need to break it, get the generic attributes, and that's where I can get the mesh and the item name. So what I do is I break the structs, etc. I get the item name, I declare it as a variable, as a text variable. In this case, it's going to be stone. And then I also somehow gather the inventory item, which is a struct inventory slot item structure. Either way, again, your inventory might be different. So I'm declaring what the text should say. I declare what the item should say, both as a variable inside the particular component. And one component is for one component here. What does that mean? That means that when the world loads up, this component knows exactly that the text, whenever you hover over, should say stone. Knows exactly when you pick it up, the inventory item should be a inventory item stone. And also for this one, it knows exactly that when you hover over, the text should say stick, because it says stick right here. It also knows that when you hover over, the inventory item should be stick, which is right here, this inventory item right here. It knows exactly for each of the component, because each component has its own class here, and each class will be initialized on load. So each class will have its own foliage text, and each class have its own inventory item as variable. So whenever I hover over a particular item, what I do is I have this basic line trace, which is triggered by a set timer by the event begin play of the character, meaning the character loads into the open world environment, and then every 0.1 second, we're gonna do a simple line trace or sphere trace, whatever that might be. And inside the line trace, I am tracking whatever you're looking at currently. And if you're looking at an object, I'm using whatever trace channel, like a dedicated trace channel. I can create my own channel, and then I add the trace channel into the instances. So right here, collision. I just need to make sure, in my case, the trace foundation is here, block. But you can set it to whatever trace channels you want, like a custom trace channel. So what I do is my BP third person character hits something on a trace channel that it's supposed to hit, and I do some custom logic, which is saying that we're looking at some new objects, or we're still looking at the same object, or we looked away, or we are already were looking away. Either way, it's just a state management of are you looking at what are you looking at, basically. But either way, so you have this tracing, and what I do is I use blueprint interfaces for communication, and basically when you look something new that's new, what I do is I set custom data value. I'm using data values. I set on index 1 a custom data value 1. This is going to give a nice blue outline around the static mesh, because I added some materials that does this. It's a material level outlining. And then I do this one, get foliage text. Now what this does is a interface communication where it says, okay, I hit this component. So from the cast, right here, you got the cast, hit component, cast, you got an object reference. So I hit, for example, this right here, which is the stone component. I hit the instance number 16, for example. So I know that this exact stone that I'm looking at. So what this does is in a communication with the particular object, stone object, and right here, the stone object, it says with the blueprint interface, hey, show me the foliage text that you declared when the word loaded up. And this is just all you're going to do is return the foliage text. It's like a simple back and forth one variable passing. It's nothing, because the actual declaration of this happened when the word loaded up, not when your character requests it. So it's already declared 15 minutes ago what is the text should be. So you're looking at something and you're like, show me the text that I'm currently looking at, and it's just gonna respond with this text. And then once that's done, you create a simple widget, and you're passing the text what should be displayed in the widget. In this case, this is the widget. Right here it says interact, and the bottom part, this one right here, I'm binding it to a function, and inside that function I just simply return the foliage text variable, and this foliage text variable right here is a instance editable exposed to spawn variable, meaning right here is the foliage text. So from the response here, so the response of the child of the FoliageInstanceStaticMeshComponent, where I asked what is the already declared foliage text, and it returned me, I right away pass it to the widget. The widget is like, okay, let's initialize it and put it on display right here, and then we add it to the viewport, the widget. It's not really, you don't press E inside the widget here, but what you do is a little bit above there in the BP third person, you press E key, and I say, are you looking at a foliage? And if you are looking at a foliage, then I use the already declared component and hit index, because you already declared these things. I'm sorry, here, already declared these things. So I'm just saying, okay, you're looking at the already declared component and the hit index. So basically what I do is I again use swap foliage this interface as a special function inside the, again, child of the FoliageInstanceStaticMeshComponent right here, which says swap foliage interact. It's sending a hit item from here. It's sending a hit item. The target of this is obviously the object itself, meaning this what you declared. So for example, you are saying this component, the stone component is that I'm looking at. Let's send into the stone component swap FoliageInstanceStaticMeshComponent, send there a message with a hit item as a variable, and when it's triggered, I'm going to add the item to my inventory. And now you're asking what item I'm adding. How do I know what item to add into my inventory? Well, I already declared it right here. So set. Just like I declared the text 15 minutes ago when the server loaded, I already declared that this particular component, this with this stone component, doesn't matter how many instances, whatever instance you hover over, they all should be a text saying stone, and they all should be a inventory item stone. because I declared in the beginning a text what it should say and the item. So when it comes to the actual pickupping, so you're triggering the add pickup items, all you need to do is take this variable out that you already declared, and then you add it into your inventory. That's all it takes. And then what I do is basically I hide the resource. I don't destroy it, transform it, move it somewhere. Again, I'm using simple set custom data value to make the underlying item invisible. I do some delay node, and then I make the item visible. Now, of course, that's what you see. The delay node is the only actor that's involved, because I need to spawn a delay actor, because you can't just say delay here, because if you do delay here, then whenever you trigger this, it has, let's say, 1 minute delay, but if inside 1 minute you picking up another stone, it's gonna rewrite it because it's not parallel execution. So you need to spawn an actor. But if I wouldn't spawn an actor and somehow manage to do the delay itself, then that would mean that no actors involved. So look, I have 20 actors right now, and that would mean that I can literally look at an object, pick it up, no actor, still 20 actor, still 20 actor, still 20 actor, still 20 actor. But I mean, I get the items into my inventory. I have widgets. I have the widgets saying that what is the item, but none of these are actors. Like in your system level, you still 20 actors, and that's the beautiful part about it. The only actors I'm involved is spawning a delay actor for each of the stuff that I pick up. But I'm already looking at a solution how I can do that without that. But yeah, that's it. And just one thing in material level, what I do, just so you have an idea for each of these things, that the invisible mask and the outlining mask, I showed in previous videos, but just quickly so people have an idea of how it looks like. What I do is, let's go here, let's this, and then the material is called m_rock. Okay, so what I do, this is my invisibility mask. Per custom data point on the index 0, the default value 1 is visible, 0 is invisible, like this. That's how I can control if it should be visible or not. It goes into a vertex interpolator, and that goes into your opacity mask. That's the invisibility. And the coral outline, again, I showed another video how to do it, is a Fresnel node multiplied by a color, which gets multiplied by the per custom data value on a different index. So in this case, it's data index 1. This is data index 0. And then the default value here is 1 outlined, 0 not outlined. And that's what you see that I do here in real time, is that I'm setting custom data values. For example, here, set custom data index 0, so 0 index, 0 value, that's invisible, because 0 index, where is it? 0 index, 0 value, like this, that's invisible, okay? And then, like, for example, the outlining right here, when it says I'm outlining it, so data index 1, data value 1. What does that mean? Data index 1, data value 1, well, I'm outlining it. So I either make it invisible, visible, or I outline or not outline, depending on what my custom data values are. And that's how I create it, basically. You walk over the map, you see something, you're looking at it, it requests from the child of the FoliageInstanceStaticMeshComponent. It says, hey, pass me the text that you already declared when the server loaded. It passes the text. You forward it to the widget. The widget gonna say, okay, this is the text. It shows you, and then you say, in simply here with an E key, you say, are you looking at a foliage? Yes. Then I allow you to pick that item up, basically. And picking up the item is, again, using interface, communicating with this child of the foliage instance. But there, all you do is just you use this interface to kind of communicate, and then you add the items to your inventory, and then you hide the item based on the hit item, of course, because it doesn't need object reference, it doesn't need hit item only. That's why we're only saying hit item, we're not sending hit item, we're not sending the object ref, because you're already in yourself, so you can just do like this, self, which is get a reference to self, so this one would be the same that you get the cast object reference. So yeah, that's kind of the system, and it nets you a nice and viable option. So if I go back and I hide my trace channel so it doesn't show, it gives you a nice and viable option that, let's say you have a small crosshair, or even without crosshair, doesn't matter. You walk into the map and you just, like, you can walk through, nothing happens. You need to actually look down and look at an object to see what is there, and then you can decide to pick it up. And then, of course, when you load, you see it there when I load into the game. In the top left corner, you see stick and stone right here. That's because both of these are initialized when the server loads. So the server loads, it sees two components, sticks and stones. For both of these components, gonna run the backend event play in the swap foliage instance static mesh component, so the child of the foliage instance is gonna run event backend play of on every single component you have. Here, so if it's 20, it's 20, and each of the event backend play gonna run through, gonna declare the text that it should save for itself and the item that it should spawn for itself. Declares them, and that means foliage text here is gonna say stick, but foliage text here is gonna say stone or whatever, or reverse. You got the idea, because each of the variable is gonna be for that particular object, meaning that this foliage text variable not gonna be global, so not both of these gonna have it the same thing. In this component is gonna say stick, in this component gonna say stone, and that's the beauty about it, is because you can do a bunch of stuff inside here this way, and you don't need to specifically spawn, because I could spawn a full-blown BP actor up to the world, or I could just go with my character and whenever it's close proximity I switch over to a full-blown actor. But why? Why would I do that? To give the item to my inventory? I can do it by this and then pass in inventory to add. Simple as that. I don't need to do that in order to. The only reason you would do an actor is that you need some kind of parallel execution delay. But other than that, you don't really need to. You can do all your logic that you would do in picking up the item literally inside the component class. So yeah, that's it. That's how I do it. I hope I gave inspiration to some of you. Take care. See you at the next one.